Buckle up into those booster seats, folks. Apple's about to have a crazy year. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here. And no cap, Apple is about to have one of the biggest years in its history. There is an insane number of products coming, and not just new products, like major redesigns of products. So there is a lot that we are excited for here at Apple Insider. It is going to be off the wall. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what Apple is going to be releasing this year, when we're expecting things, and when you should be watching out for those Apple event notifications. As usual, we're expecting a few Apple events this year. At least 3 for sure if you're counting WWDC. But it could go up to as many as 5, and you'll probably understand when I tell you some of the stuff that Apple has queued up for release this year. In Apple's first event of the year, their spring event, we're likely to see 3 things. First, the new iPhone SE. Hasn't been updated in quite a while, and we're expecting to see a refresh here in the spring. Following that in the spring, we're also hoping to see a new iPad Air. Again, it was updated a little while ago. Time for a new one, and possibly some new, more powerful Macs. But what more powerful Macs? Well, it's a little bit of a bummer compared to what's launching in the second half of the year, but in the spring event, we think Apple's going to be introducing more Macs with the M1 Pro processor, or even the M1 Max processor, but probably the M1 Pro. So Apple could just be bringing this to existing product lines, not necessarily doing a full refresh, like 24-inch iMac could be getting an M1 Pro version. We could also see the Mac Mini either getting a full refresh or at least with an M1 Pro option, aside from the M1 option that's already out there. So that is what we hope or expect to see in that spring event. That takes us to June, where we're going to have WWDC. This year, I think that Apple is going to do it probably online again. COVID has not settled down enough that Apple's going to feel comfortable bringing that many people into one place. But on top of that, they don't want to put all of their engineers at risk. Apple's delayed bringing employees back to the office, so even in just a few months, I'm not expecting them to bring their best engineers and put them in one place with a whole bunch of the public. So at least in part, I think WW is going to be online once again this year. But on top of that, I think we're going to get some really good surprises out of iOS 15 and iPadOS 15 and Apple's other updates. iOS 15 was a little bit of a letdown, and we saw, subdued public reaction to a lot of the features that were announced. And some of the features still haven't delivered yet, such as the universal control for Mac and iPads. I think we're going to see a good update with iOS 16 this year, iPadOS 16 this year. All of them should do a lot to wow and delight customers. Apple's had slower adoption rates for iOS 15, so it's going to need to do something to get those numbers to come back up when iOS 16 ships this fall. So we should be excited, I think, for what Apple has in store at its annual dev conference. So what does Apple have in store for this fall? It's a pretty big list. Are you guys ready? I'm going to read it off so we can get everything correct here. I think Apple's going to have the new AirPods Pro upgrade. We already showed you what we think AirPods Pro may look like and some of the features we're going to see, so go check out that video. But there's that one. We're going to see new Apple Watches. Apple is probably going to be releasing 3 new Apple Watch models. The Apple Watch Series 8, the Apple Watch SE, a new version of those. It hasn't been upgraded in 2 years. Then we have a new rugged Apple Watch that has been in development for some time. So 3 new Apple Watch models likely coming. Then we've got 4 new models of the iPhone. The iPhone, what are we on, 14? So iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Max, iPhone 14 Pro, and iPhone 14 Pro Max. I don't think we're going to have an iPhone 14 mini this year, so just Max versions of the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro. That still leaves us with a new updated 27-inch iMac or a revamped 27-inch iMac Pro. There's going to be a new low-end MacBook Pro, ditching the 13-inch model for a new 14-inch model that's just lower specs and lower price point. Then there is a revamped MacBook Air on the way, following still a new low-end iPad and new iPad Pros. And those iPad Pros sound like they could have the M2 processor inside when that ships with any of those Macs. This is a ton of stuff. So I can see Apple splitting this up into 3 events for this fall. We may have one dedicated to iPhone and Apple Watches and possibly the AirPods Pro first in September. Then we may have an October event or 2 October events, one dedicated to all of those Macs, the 27-inch iMac or iMac Pro, the new Mac Pro, the new MacBook Airs, and the new low-end 14-inch MacBook Pro killing off the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Then another event maybe going into the iPads, where we're going to have the revamped iPad Pro as well as an entry-level iPad. It's a lot of stuff, and Apple's really going to do well this year, I think. We're already hearing reports that Apple's going to have a record-setting quarter announced on their next quarterly earnings call, and that's before we get into this year even at all. We haven't even had the first Apple event yet. This is going to be huge for Apple. It's going to be a monumental year, and I am excited for it. Are you guys excited for it? Let me know over on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. And which of all of Apple's new products coming this year are you most excited to see? Let me know, and I'll catch you in the next video.